Well, happy Halloween to all you listeners out there. Matt Bailey here for the Music Universe. Over the last week after work, I would be coming home and I would binge watch a show on Peacock called Hysteria. And the reason I say binge watch is because it combined my favorite things: a mystery, a thriller, a horror show, and pretty epic music, both originals and in the soundtrack that they chose. And I look at this journalism thing as a superpower because I said, oh my gosh, I have an outlet to talk to the star of the show about that awesome music and her awesome vocals. Please welcome Chiara Aurelia. Chiara, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm even better now to talk to you because I love that show. I love your voice, first of all.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
it's just incredible. So tell me about the process of auditioning or being offered Hysteria. What was the musical component like for you in the casting process?
So, surprisingly enough, there wasn't actually a huge music element in the audition process. So, when I originally got the script for the show, I was like super interested in the story and the horror and the metal of it all and the satanic panic in the 80s. I mean, it really kind of covered all of the gamuts of the things that I'm interested in, at least. And I don't think they realized, I mean, music was a huge part of it, but I think they thought maybe they would have someone kind of, dub the singing if necessary, or I honestly, I don't know what their original plan was, but they definitely asked me if I could sing, and I said yes, and they asked me if I could play instruments, and I believe I said yes, although that was like definitely not true at all. Um, and yeah, and then I auditioned for the show and signed on. And as soon as they kind of had me and MJ and Kazai as, Jordy and Spud and Dylan,
Mhm.
we were put into a band camp and we did 8 weeks or 6 weeks. I'm always exaggerating, but it was like a lot of weeks of training in order to get ready to be performing on the show. And then we ended up doing basically band rehearsals throughout the entire season. So it was amazing.
That's really cool. Did that band camp help you with your voice at all? I mean, did you notice any improvement from where you were as a singer there before filming to where you were after the boot camp?
Definitely. I mean, I think that I sang my whole childhood and I always loved music and musical theater, and it was kind of always a dream of mine to be on Broadway. But I definitely was not prepared to sing like proper heavy metal. That's like a completely different genre, and it's a completely different sound, and it's a completely different understanding of the music that I kind of really didn't have, at least at the beginning. So being able to kind of do the research and just learn about metal music, and then also, to prep my voice properly so that I wasn't, there's a lot of, it's very loud, so you don't want to damage your vocal cords at all. And then also, obviously, I was learning the bass the entire time, which I was completely clueless in when I started, but gained some skills hopefully by the end.
Hey, you looked like you'd been doing it since you were a kid, just like the character. Uh,
Lots of practice.
I love it. Did the challenge of having the band component, did that make finding the character easier or harder for you?
I think that it gave me a really good guideline in terms of Geordie. And I think that, me as Chiara in my life, music is a huge part of my world. And the music that I listen to kind of has always been a part of who I am. And being able to have such a good understanding of Geordie's taste in music and the things that inspire her, I think kind of just gave me a good roadmap to her as a human being. And I don't know, I think connecting music to roles has always been something that I find really fascinating. I don't know, like having a playlist or having something to listen to that kind of easily taps you into someone's universe is always great.
I love it. And you sound amazing on the songs on the album. And there is an album, original soundtrack. You can stream that wherever you stream your music. And you sound amazing in the show. I want to talk about, in particular, the first time that just made my jaw drop: the Iron Maiden cover in like the first episode. Tell me about that process because I mean, I'm watching this show. I'm like, okay, kids in a band. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And then you guys, the three of you just shred, and my jaw's on the floor. Tell me about that.
Okay, well, imagine anyone who plays instruments or sings, imagine going in, starting on a show, and having them tell you the first song you need to learn is Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. So I think we can start there, which, like, anyone who has any sort of understanding of like, instruments and kind of like different, even the bass line on that and singing at the same time and the guitar solo that MJ had to learn and Kazai. I mean, it was like a very tall feat. And also, Iron Maiden is like so iconic and incredible, and people love their music so much. So you want to do it justice. So I think that we were like very, very invested and also maybe terrified that was our first song that we were doing on the show. But I mean, it was such an honor. It's such a classic, and I think the process of learning it and feeling very proficient in it. There was a lot of rehearsal. I won't say it came easily, but I definitely feel like it built a lot of camaraderie with me and the other boys, and I don't know, it kind of set us up and set our band up for the rest of the show.
It's really it's really amazing. I want to switch gears here and actually talk about filming the show and the way the show is filmed, because one of the things that my little film major heart took notice of is when you're in the school or when you're in a really tense moment. I don't have you watched it yet? Have you seen it? Or I know
Yeah.
sometimes okay.
Yes. No, no, no. I've seen it. I've seen it.
The screen really comes in almost like an iris in, and there's like tension when you're being bullied or there's some drama at school, and then as the three of you come together, the camera kind of calms down, the shot zooms out, it's not so much a fisheye. Were you aware of that sort of those filmic decisions during production, because it just elevates the tension of the show really, really well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as an audience member watching it back, I think that, it's all done so well, and our DPs and our directors and everyone involved in the camera department and lighting, it was very specific. It was very specific. I mean, they were looking for her, they had a lot of details in terms of what they wanted to do, and they had such an incredible vision. And our showrunner, Matt Scott Kane, there was like a lot of specificity that went into, I think, every little thing. There's definitely parts that you're aware of as an actor on set. You kind of overhear the chatter and what's going on, but I definitely didn't realize the extent of it. I'm also kind of in one universe on the
Right.
show. So I had a really good understanding of what was going on in the band world, but being able to watch the show back and kind of see, even Judith's storyline, which I remember while we were filming, they were talking about this blur tar. It was like constantly the blur tar. It was like this word that was repeated all the time, which is that I don't know if for those who know cameras, I'm sorry, because I don't actually know what it is, but I believe it's a filter of some kind that creates that kind of glowy effect over Judith when Dylan is looking at her.
Yeah.
And they were kind of always talking about how they really wanted these blur tar shots. So I know that that was a big thing, but kind of being very stylistic with the decisions and kind of very clearly differentiating the different worlds and the different characters and the different relationships. And there was definitely a different way that, we went about filming the band scenes versus even the scenes that I had with Nikki Hahn, who's our lovely Faith. The dynamics are all different, and I think they did a really good job of, color wise and shot wise and everything kind of, I don't know, further clarifying those things, if that makes sense.
It was a tour de force performance for everybody, from the music on through to the acting. It's just
Thank
so
you.
incredibly well done, and I really have to commend you. The original soundtrack, this cracks me, this tickles my funny bone. I love it. The Rapture and Watches of Death and Light Up the Night are credited to Death Crunch on the album, which is the In Universe band. Can you talk about the process of recording those originals, and is there maybe something that didn't make the show, didn't make the album, that you guys worked on?
There's a lot that wasn't in the show that we worked on just kind of for practice purposes. But no, I mean, so we had a rehearsal space in Atlanta, and we had these incredible teachers who were a part of it. Kathy and Ansley, and then my bass instructor Robbie and Eric. There was a whole clan of everyone, and we spent a bunch of time in this studio where we would practice and then we'd record. But yeah, I'm doing all of the vocals on the Death Crunch tracks, and the boys are definitely in a bit of the vocals in there as well. We're not playing the instruments on the actual soundtrack because I don't think we could ever do it quite as well as it needed to be done, at least for the sake of television. But by the end of it, I mean, we were all playing it without any sort of backtrack. So yeah, but I'm really happy that the soundtrack is out there and people are able to listen to it and enjoy it. We worked on Mother by Danzig, and I mean, we worked on Crazy Train. There was a
Wow.
bunch of songs that we were kind of practicing for fun, and by the end of it, I'd come in and say, "Hey, this is what I want to learn on the bass today. Is there any way you can help me learn this?" To my teacher Robbie, and we'd kind of go through any song. I think I learned like what was the last thing I learned? My Girl, which is completely unrelated from metal at
I
all.
love that. I love
But,
that.
but it was very simple, and I said that I could go home and show off to my friends by playing it. So
That's amazing. Yeah, we need Crazy Train in season 2. That's for sure.
100%. 100%.
No, has this for you as Chiara? Has this experience made you maybe want to pursue music a little bit more fully? Maybe EP, album, single, play around with it?
I mean, listen, I'm never gonna say no to any opportunity that comes my way, and my love for music is very extensive, and I would be honored to make something of my own. I don't know if that's necessarily exactly what my next step would be, but I definitely want to further incorporate it into my acting work, and kind of be able to grow in that space, and if I end up finding a desire to make my own music, that's definitely something I'd be open to. I would never shut that down. I really would love to do kind of some more stuff in the musical theater space as well.
Oh,
So
cool.
there's always that.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And you have the voice for it. If you could tackle that heavy metal as well as you did, you definitely have the voice for it. Before I let you go, we're coming up on 15 minutes here, but before I let you go, I have to ask that typical question. Of course, there are some questions that were story questions that were left unanswered at the end of season 1 without any spoilers. Where would you like to see the journey of these characters go in a potential season 2?
Oh, you can't ask me that. I have no idea. I mean, no, there's a million and one things I look forward to potentially happening in the future seasons. But our showrunner Matt Scott Kane is so brilliant, and I'm always incredibly satisfied with the journey that he takes us on with all of the characters. I think I'm kind of the most excited to see what ends up happening in the Tracy universe. As much as I look forward to Jordy's storyline, I have a lot of faith there, but we definitely leave on a bit of a cliffhanger, and you have to watch the show. But I think I think Tracy should get what's coming to her a little bit. So
She should, but it also left it open that she may actually be able to writhe and wriggle her way out of it. And be back to wreak some more terror. So, maybe next spooky season, hopefully, if the show gets the numbers that it definitely has earned in the quality of its work and definitely deserves, hopefully we'll have more stories to tell. Chiara, thank you so much,
thank
and
you so
I
much.
really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. For the Music Universe, happy Halloween, everybody. If you're staying in like I am, waiting for those trick or treaters to come to your door, this is a great show to binge tonight on All Hallows Eve. For the Music Universe, I'm Matt Bailey. We'll see you soon.